Thank you, B. Dravidam's group, for inviting me to this program. I, I would like to say good evening to each and every one of you who are watching this program right now. I'm so happy that today I'm going to spend some 20-25 minutes with you to speak something special about our great Dravidian leader Anna and Periyar, and not just about Anna and Periyar. It's all about what did they do for us, so that we are remembering them back now. I must thank Katir for giving me an opportunity to share my views. For most of the people who may not know me or know about me, I would like to introduce myself first. This is Aazhi Senthil, and I am a writer and journalist from Chennai, also a publisher, and I also work with the language rights organizations throughout India. I am the Federal Secretary of a group called Campaign for Language Equality and Rights, CLEAR, which is fighting for the language rights for the languages in India. And being part of that group, I widely traveled across India, particularly to Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Odisha, Punjab, and other states, where we coordinated with the local people, local organizations to fight for the language equality and to fight against the language imperialism. And with this background, I would like to straight away get into the subject. Today, everybody speak about Anna. And why Anna today? For the people who are not from Tamil Nadu, I must say a few words about Anna. Anna, or his full name is C.N. Annadurai, was former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu and founder of India's first successful state party, Dravidam DMK. And Anna was disciple of Periyar. At the same time, he has its own views on political and social affairs. Though he is part and parcel of the Dravidian movement, he has his own special and exclusive understanding about the Dravidian movement, and he created some of the aspects which we call today as the Dravidian political elements. Anna came from the fold of Periyar, and he expanded the horizon. If Periyar is like Karl Marx, Anna is like Lenin, I can say. So whatever the ideological base that Periyar built in the 30s and 40s, Anna built a structure over it. That's the relation between Dravida Kadagam, headed by Periyar, and DMK, headed by Anna, later, which is consequently chaired by Karunanidhi, and others. Now, but when we are talking about Anna, we are not simply talking about Anna the politician, which is also an essential part of him. But basically, there are few things that we need to understand as Anna's contribution not only to Tamil Nadu, also to the entire country. Anna was the first political leader in India who defined India as a union of nationalities, not just union of states. Anna saw India is actually a prison house of nationalities. In 1946, 1 year before independence of India, he saw India is actually a federation of nationalities, though the words that he used in Tamil may be interpreted in different ways. But basically, particularly when he was discussing about the cabinet mission proposals from the British to resolve the vexed problem of unity of India at that time, he was talking about India could be a union of nationalities. He was thinking India in almost similar ways European Union exists today. He was thinking about India as a Sangam, a association of various nationalities, and they share some sovereignty of their own with a federal center. So Anna's India in 1946-47 was all about India being a federation of sovereign states. It was the early days of imagining India in different way. They didn't imagine India the way Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, or all other Indian leaders envisaged or imagined. He was thinking in different lines. At the time, it was a line proposed or accepted by very small section of the society. Some 70 years later, what Anna thought has become a very important point of discussion today, because Anna feared the emerging India could become a unitary state, and at that time it was almost like a prophecy. Today we are seeing India as a united state. India, supposed to be the union of states, is now becoming unitary state in itself. So Periyar initially defined India is not as a nation, but only as a subcontinent. And Anna explained it in much better way and expanded it. And he was telling that India could only become a federation. It could never become a nation. Nation in the political sense. In the ideological or in the propaganda sense, anybody can say India as a nation. But from historical and political sense, India has never been a nation. It will never become a nation. It will only a federation of nations. It's only a union or a federation or an empire that has evolved right. So in the Rajya Sabha in 60s, when Anna, in his very first speech, in his maiden speech, Anna defined or he redefined the very word nation. He called for redefining, redrafting, reinterpreting the word nation. It is very interesting thought in 1960s. Somebody from Tamil Nadu, at the time Madras State, went to Parliament, which is full of the people who believe India as a single nation, because they were from the Indian nationalist movement and they had the right to consider India as a single nation. And Anna wanted to redefine it, wanted to reinterpret it. What was nation for Anna was not the nation for others, and what was nation for others was not nation for Anna. That was one of very important contribution of Anna, seeing India as a union. If India could exist, it could exist only as union. If India could function, it could function only as a federation. So that was the idea, and Anna was readily accepting that concept of a kind of European Union kind of India in 1960s, and which is really very interesting thing to even imagine in 1960s. Even today, for 99.99% of people in India, this thought is very radical and very almost unacceptable for most of the people, probably except the people from Kashmir and Northeast India. So when Anna wanted to define India as a federation or union, when he was fighting for a separate Dravidam Nadu, separate state for South India in those times, how did he imagine the South India or the Dravidam Nadu? Even for Dravidam Nadu or South India, as he always called as Dravidam Nadu, as a federation of four linguistic states. So the Dravidam Nadu, according to Anna, was nothing but a confederation of a Tamil state, Telugu state, Malayalam state, and Kannada states. In one of the very interesting, very notable discussions with Vinoba Bhave, Anna was saying that you won't be having even a central government. You really wanted to have a confederation of four states, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada, which was These four states were historically known as states populated by the people who share some linguistic affinity some 3,000, 4,000 years back, which linguists call, these people belongs to the Dravidian linguistic family. Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, Urdu, and all those languages. So he was taking this linguistic affinity of the, or a kind of linguistic family affinity as the basis for unity. But at that time, I think none other than the people of Tamil Nadu was accepting this reality. But today, most of the people, even though they do not understand the logic behind Anna's strategy of Dravidam, at least today people have come to an understanding that at least if Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, and Kerala comes together and fight for the common cause, we can win a lot of rights from the central government. So the concept of Dravidians has emerged. And according to Dravidian ideology, the Dravidian sometimes also include people from across India, as long as they belongs to a backward community or a scheduled caste, that is who are not the Savarna class, not part of the Savarna class. So the Dravidian can be non-Savarna working masses of India, or the Dravidian can be sometimes the people belonging to four South Indian states, sometimes four or five now. Sometimes Dravidian means only Tamil. Depends upon various interpretation. And the Anna's interpretation of Dravida Nadu was a confederation of the four South Indian linguistic communities who come together to form a centerless unity where they share something for the common cause. Otherwise, each and every state could have its own right of self-determination, just like any other country in the world. That was the dream Anna had in 1950s and 60s, even from 40s, 50s, 60s. And why we are thinking all these things today? So in 1947, when we had the independent India, in 1950, when the independent India became a republic, there was a tacit understanding between the states and the center, or union, to properly say it's a union. It was not written, but there was a contract, unwritten contract, a social contract between the people belongs to various linguistic communities in India and the union government, which is supposed to represent them as a cumulative or collective society. So that idea of plural India first emerged as a fight or struggles for the linguistic states in India, 1950s. The moment in 1947 India got independence, in 1950 India became a republic. The next big, not problem, but the question that India addressed at the time was making India as a truly federal country by giving permission or accepting the realities called linguistic states. It means India should only become a federation of linguistic states. So that relation between the center or the union and the linguistic states were completely unaddressed by most of the Indian leaders at that time. Jawaharlal Nehru was a unionist. Ambedkar, almost most of the times he expressed the ideas which is nothing but unitarism, I can say unitarism. Almost all the leaders of North India, they are part and parcel of the unitary ideology. And what about the leaders in South India? Most of the leaders in South India in 1950s and 60s, even those who fought for the linguistic states were from Congress and communists, and they also have the same idea of unitary India. So there is only a few leaders in India, probably Chittaranjan Das from Bengal and some thoughts of Nijalingappa from Karnataka and some ideas of EMS from Kerala. They were there. But C.N. Annadurai was the guy who actually developed a political and ideological framework for seeing India from different perspectives, where he saw how the unitary state in India is developed, even though it called itself as a quasi-federal. That was a contribution of Anna. In 1960s, in the early 1960s, when Anna was completely defeated by the unitary forces in the Indian Parliament and forced to give up the demand for Dravidam. He simply shifted the focus from separate country to federal India and autonomy states. What he has done at the time was actually he created a framework in which the India could function in much better way, in which the states can function as nations at the same time could be part and parcel of the union also. It was very interesting thought in 1960s, but almost no Indian leader has that kind of understanding about the political affairs of India from the federal and autonomous point of view. Come to 2014, Modi came to the power. When Modi came to the power, the ideology behind Modi, that is the RSS ideology of Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan, the ideology of one land, one country, that is one nation. They say Ek Rashtra, one nation, one language, one religion, and all the ones, which is basically coming from Nagpur, not from any other place. So that RSS BJP ideology came to power in 2014. From the day one, they started their holy war of destroying the linguistic communities of India and forcibly taking all the powers from the states and brought all the powers to center. At the same time, they are not simply holding the powers to center, they are not holding the power to union government itself. Then they redistribute the powers to the hands of few people in Gujarat. The notion of India as Hindu Rashtra is nothing but bringing back the Varnashram Dharma. So, according to RSS BJP, India should be ruled by the new Parashurams, of the Savarna class, and the Indian economy should be in the hands of a very few Baniya empires, like Ambani's and Adani's. That was India, according to Modi Commission. And who foresaw all these things? Who did foresee everything? It was Anna in 1946 in his famous book called Panathotu. Panathotu, meaning God of Money, was all about the emergence of Indian Baniya class as the ruling class of India. And Anna told us that very soon this Baniya class will take away all the powers from all the Baniya classes of, that is, merchant classes of India. When I am talking about Baniya class, he meant the Gujarati Marwari Baniya class, and I meant the same. So this Gujarati Marwari Baniya class will take away all the money, that is all the wealth, all the business, all the trade from other classes in India, and it will become a center point of the Indian subcontinent. That was the words Anna used in 1946, 1 year before so-called independence. So today we have come to that level. We are seeing India as a Gujarati Marwari led or Gujarati led Baniya class taking everything into its hands, whether it is airports or airlines or BSNL, Indian Railways, anything that is with central government is now handed over to the Baniyas, and anything which is not in the hands of Baniyas but which is in the hands of state is now simply taken away by the center. Center simply grab all the powers, all the resources, everything from the states, and they are not holding it with themselves. They are simply handing it over to the big Baniya classes of India. This is nothing but Varnashram. This is the Hindu Rashtra, this is the Ram Rajya according to RSS BJP. And Anna single-handedly fought this tendency in 1950s and 60s. This is one side of the story. In another side, Anna was talking about the federalism and autonomy as at least the immediate or the intermediate solution for the problems that we are facing today. He wants the power, the economic power, political power, cultural power, linguistic power, all kinds of power, the rights, the authority should be in hands of states, because it is a state that is working with the people. It's not the union government. The role of union government is all about external affairs, military, defense, and some pan-national or pan-federal features of ruling governance. But everything that is linked with the people. Whenever a government is talking about the welfare of the people, it always comes to the duty and rights of the state government. So he was talking about a center or the union as a federal unit, and all the states will be the real functioning bodies of even in 1963 when Anna was fighting for his freedom of speech or speaking about the self-determination, right of self-determination for Dravidam Nadu or Tamil Nadu or for any other state in that matter. He was talking about, very interestingly, he was talking about the very definition of the word sovereignty. When Anna spoke about Dravidam Nadu, or when somebody spoke about rights to the states or state autonomy or even independence, it was immediately called as anti-sovereign activity. It's anti-national, anti-sovereign activity. Anna was asking in 1963 in the parliament in Rajasthan, what was meaning of sovereignty? Anna quoted the Constitution of India says the political sovereignty rests with the people. The Constitution itself clearly defined the legal sovereignty is divided between federal center and the states. So when somebody is asking their rights from Chennai or from Bangalore, Hyderabad, Kolkata or Chandigarh or Mumbai, when the states, when they are asking for rights or when they want to become more fully integrated sovereign units, they are not asking somebody else's rights. Even according to Indian Union's constitution, the sovereignty lies with people. Anna said, very clearly said, the sovereignty doesn't lie in one particular space alone. The rulers in Delhi are thinking that the sovereignty lies with the parliament itself or in Delhi itself. It's all about Delhi. But Anna said the sovereignty lies with every person in India. All the linguistic communities in India have the equal sovereignty. So when we are fighting for a language rights or a rights on tax or rights on education or something like that, we are actually talking about our own sovereignty because we have the sovereignty. So the sovereign people of India has given a mandate to the union government to rule accordingly. The union government doesn't have any separate sovereignty away from the people of India. So Anna has simply turned the table and he was asking about when we are talking about the right of self-determination or when we are talking about the state rights, we are talking about our own sovereign rights within the constitution. And there I can expand, I can talk more about this, but I like to restrict my speech in this point. Anna was talking about the emergence of a Savarna or upper caste or Brahmin Baniya imperialism in India. Today we are seeing that. Anna was talking about Baniya imperialism as a special case of capitalism in this part of the world in 1946 itself. And we are seeing that today. Today, whatever happening today is nothing but expected or feared by Periyar and Anna in 1940s. And Anna was talking about the state rights. Today we are losing almost all state rights. And Anna was talking about how only a federal government can function well, how the federal government could function only when they have a handful of some pan-national, pan-federal rights, not everything else. He wants a lean government in Delhi, which will be talking or dealing only the defense, foreign affairs, and all the major things, not education, not culture, not language, not anything else, not railway, not buses, not routes. So he was talking about a powerful union is possible only when they have the less number of legislative powers in their hand and everything related to the people's welfare should be with the states. And we are seeing today the reverse is happening. The union is simply taking away all the powers. Yesterday, they have taken the power related to the agriculture. The three agrarian bills were nothing but taking the rights of states in legislating in agriculture related areas in India. So that's why today we are talking about Anna, because he foresaw everything, and not only he identified the problems, he also provided the solutions. So that solution may not be exactly applicable today, but whatever solution you are developing, you have to start from Anna's principles. So the way is federalism, the way is autonomy to the states is very important today. And before I wind up, I would like to say one more important aspect of Anna's ideas. Whenever Anna say about the federalism or state autonomy or state rights, it is not just division of power between two states, two governments. It is not like that. Many people misunderstood that. He was talking about simply some powers to be devolved to states, devolved to state governments. It is not like this. If a state government wants to implement, say, a social justice oriented program, say, a welfare state oriented program, a mass based economic revival program, or a completely different way of imagination emerging to the state to develop the state, which is happening in Tamil Nadu many times later, the state should have power to do so. So if Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, or Andhra Pradesh in the early 1990s, if they wanted to develop IT infrastructure in the state, they should have the power to develop the IT policies and implement it. Only then those states will grow. So it happened with Kalanjar and Jayalalitha period in Tamil Nadu. It happened with Chandrababu Naidu's period in Andhra Pradesh, the United Andhra Pradesh, and it happened with Krishna and others period in Karnataka. So if a state needs to develop, they need to have their own way of thinking and implementing. That will be ensured only when you have the legislative power. So Anna's idea of federalism and autonomy is not simply dividing the power to two units, two entities. It was all about a state mission, and how a political class of a state, how the parties of the state, or how the people of the state wanted to move ahead in the progressive path, whether they have the rights or not is the main question. So if there is a form, that form is Anna. And if you want to know what is the content in it, that is Periyar. So Periyar was a generator of the content, and Anna has given a form to it. It was the Periyar Anna model of political development of Tamil Nadu, and we have seen a lot of developments in that. Today we are all in the same position. We are in the dead end. So we need to think about what Anna said earlier. So suddenly in the last 3-4 years, myself and my organization called Tannatchi Tamilagam, which is Tannatchi means autonomy, Tamilagam means Tamil Nadu, fighting for autonomous Tamil Nadu, that is fighting for state autonomy for Tamil Nadu, as identified Anna as an icon for so what we really want to do today is to share our ideas with other people from different nationalities in India. And when we are sharing our ideas, we also want to give you some ideas proposed by CN Annadurai, our leader. That could also be very much useful to you. So whenever I am talking about that, I would like to propagate promote Anna's ideas among yourself. It is also it has a meaning of taking something from you also. So when I say something about Anna to you, and you can also say something about your very own leaders, your very own struggles, your very own movements to us. It is not one-way traffic. It is a two-way lane. So let us share our ideas of the past so that we will share our ideas for present and future. And Anna was certainly one of the path-breaking leaders of seeing India from different perspective and making every linguistic community of India as a equal partner in making this India in a different way. So that's the one of the core ideologies of Dravidian movement, started from 1915, 16, 17 at the time, and now almost 100 years old. So the Dravidian movement is all about social justice. It's all about a equal share of power in Indian subcontinent. It's all about all democratic, secular, and socialist principles. Anna was embodiment of all the three. Is thinking about nationalism, is thinking about socialism, is thinking about democracy, is thinking about republicanism. Everything was very, very advanced and surprisingly modern, even in 1940s, 50s, and 60s. That's why we want to recall, remember Anna. And I just want to share this to you. And this is only a beginning. We will work together, think together, and do together. Thank you very much for sharing your time now. And we will continue our discussion in another point of time. Thank you very much. All the best.